everyone. Sometimes I think life goes by so quickly, and especially nowadays when everything seems to blur together. One day kind of bleeds into the next, into the next, into the next. You get up, go to work, you come back, you hope for salvation, you hope that the vaccine will get here, it won't get here, it will get here, they didn't order enough. Everything becomes a big blur. There are certain things that happen that remind you truly how precious life is, and not to lose the forest from the trees. I'll tell you what happened yesterday. I was inside the house, and we had turned on the car to warm it up a bit. And my kids decided to be adventurous, as is their custom. And they wanted to see the rear camera. When you back up, when you go in reverse, there's a camera that shows up on the dash that views what's behind the car. So they wanted to see the camera. So one kid went in the back of the car to make funny faces into the camera, while one kid was going to turn on the camera. This is a very brilliant Mandel plot that is hatched on an average basis in our house. However, what obviously happened is that one kid apparently put their hand on the brake while the other put their hand on the gear shift. This does not happen every day, by the way. Usually my wife or I are in the car when these things happen, so don't get concerned and please don't call child services. So we were both in the house, my wife and I, which I don't understand how that happened, but it never happens, I promise you. One kid put their hand on the brake, one kid put the gear in reverse, and they saw the cameras, they made funny faces, and then the kid decided to leave the front door while it was still in reverse, and the car slowly backed out. So my daughter, who was in the back of the car making funny faces, is, thank God, very nimble and kind of like a mini gymnast. She jumped out of the way, and the car went back into the street until my wife ran out and my oldest daughter both dove into the front door and put the car in park, and everyone was safe, thank God, and no one got hurt and there was no damage. And I was thinking, if my wife hadn't come out at that moment, and if my oldest daughter hadn't had the presence of mind to do what she did, and if it was a different child in the back of the car who was not as, let's say, nimble or fleet-footed as my other daughter who ran out of the way, what could have happened? And so these are all the details of our lives that we have to somehow really try to keep in touch with. We have to understand the events around us are giving us messages, and not just are they keeping the rules, are they not keeping the rules, well, this one is, this one is not. Just think sometimes and ask yourself the simple question, what is the Almighty telling me in this moment? Not what is He telling me about that person or that government or that politician. What is He telling me? What does He want me to understand? This is exactly what happened in this week's Torah portion. When the Jewish people left Egypt and they crossed the sea, the entire world knew the power of God and the power of the Jewish people. They were unquestionably the kings of the world, until a lowly nation called Amalek attacked the Jewish people from the rear and tried to strike the very heart of this notion of spirituality, of a God-led nation. And they tried to kill them, and they were unsuccessful. And it's hard to understand, how could they attack the Jewish people? They just left Egypt. The whole world knew about this. You're not fighting some random army, you're fighting the army of God itself. And the Torah says, V'lo yarei Elokim. That's the answer. They did not, quote, fear God. Fear means being aware, being alive, being in the moment, understanding the message. They just turned themselves off and tuned out the open and obvious message. And when you turn yourself off and tune out completely from the obvious messages, then you will lose the forest from the trees. You won't recognize that, thank God, that my daughter was there. My other daughter was the one who was able to jump out. You will lose the forest from the trees, and you will lose the beauty of the grand details that are in our lives. And there is such beauty in the details of our lives if we just pay attention. And don't let your children in the car without you in there. Shabbat Shalom.